In our current digitally centered society, virtually everything we need can be found with the tap of a finger. This technology allows us to connect people, countries, and cultures with access to internet, of course. Despite this connection, there's still a barrier between us: language. Without speaking the same language, this global connection is lost, and all of the efforts we put towards a worldwide connection are in vain. However, we've come up with a solution, which I'm sure you're all familiar with: language learning apps. Language learning apps are a great way for people who don't have the time, money, or commitment to put towards a tutor or a language course at their university to advance their foreign language skills. The most popular of the language learning apps and the focus of this video essay is Duolingo. It seems that as we move forward, technology is becoming more complex, while the average person's interactions with that technology become simpler. This simplification has led to gamification. Gamification is making something that was originally not a game into a game. The goal of gamification is to make that practice more fun, or to motivate people to do it more because it's more fun. But of course, this can impede on the practice. Most research articles that I looked at actually came to the conclusion that gamification is good for learning, and that from a statistical perspective, gamification of Duolingo correlates with improvements in the language. However, there's something wrong. Is this research valid if all of the users or test subjects cheated on their lessons? You're probably thinking, cheating, like how would they allow that in their research? It's cheating, that should be a very obvious no. But it's not so obvious because it's in the app itself. In a Duolingo case study called Mobile Assisted Language Learning, a Duolingo case study by Lowen et al., there are quotes directly from the participants talking about being able to breeze through the lessons by hovering over underlined terms and being able to copy those terms directly from the sentence to their answer. To quote, "I also figured out a way to cheat on these lessons. I can just copy and paste answers if asked to provide a Turkish translation. Hovering your mouse over the item both displays the translation and lets me copy it." What? Sorry, what? From my use of Duolingo, I have noticed this as well. There are certain words in a sentence that will be underlined in a little dotted line. If you're on a computer, you can hover over those words with your mouse, or if you're on your phone, you can click on it and it'll give you a translation. This is what this case study, this quote from this case study is talking about, how they just cheated. In theory, this function is a great example of intertextuality and the user being able to create links between their native and their target language. But at the same time, the oversimplification of the function just harms the user's ability to learn. What I've picked up from using the app is that the words in the word bubbles are either obviously in the sentence or obviously not. Additionally, as I mentioned with the case study, if a user clicks on any of the words that are underlined in the prompted sentence, it'll tell them what the opposite translated word is. This would be great if Duolingo was a matching game, but it's not a matching game. You're trying to learn a language, and the oversimplification of translating sentences just for the sake of it being more game-like isn't a good thing, because the user can just use practical reasoning, process of elimination, or just plain guessing to formulate an answer instead of actual knowledge of the language. And honestly, through this, it's showing that Duolingo is prioritizing these short-term users who are only using the app for the streak feature. Anyone who's a dedicated language learner is going to be frustrated, like myself, with these features. But people who are just doing it for the streak, oh, it's so easy, I just click the word it tells me, now I can do that, my streak is done. Next day. You can tell they're catering to a certain audience, and that audience is people who aren't using the app seriously. My biggest issues with Duolingo is the hearts feature. I'm sure you're familiar with the hearts. They're in the top corner, and every time you make a mistake, you lose a heart. Just to refresh anyone's memory, with the hearts, a user is given 5 hearts, and once they make 5 mistakes, you've used up all of your allowed mistakes and are no longer able to access the lessons, unless you, of course, give them money through either watching an ad for 1 heart or subscribing to their unlimited hearts plan. In this way, Duolingo is using making mistakes as a means to end communication between the user and their desired language. Mistakes are an integral part of language learning. You can't learn a language without making a million mistakes. I know from personal experience learning French, every time I walk into French class, I make at least 50 mistakes, but every class I feel like I go a little bit higher up in my level of French, even just a little bit. The mistakes help you understand what's wrong and what's right. By showing people what's wrong and what's right, you give them the chance to correct their mistakes as well and learn from it. This way that when they are proposed with a similar situation, they'll remember that mistake and be able to do the correct option. Yet Duolingo's features somehow prevent mistakes almost entirely. And I think this connects back to their idea of not wanting people to feel unmotivated. If they make too many mistakes, they're just gonna quit, or they won't progress in the units as quick as they want, so they'll just quit. But in the process of trying to not get them to quit the app, they're ruining their users' actual ability to learn the language, which is the whole point of the app. And honestly, even when you speak in your own native language, you make mistakes. I know that I make mistakes, and I've probably made mistakes tons of times already in this video, but that's just a part of being a human and speaking a language. You can't limit yourself to 5 mistakes when you're speaking any language, even if especially if it's one that you're just learning now. It's unrealistic. Maybe I could go throughout my day only making 5 mistakes in English, maybe, but I'm learning French. I definitely couldn't go through a day making only 5 mistakes in French. It's completely unrealistic, and it's honestly discouraging. With that said, the difference is in real life, you can continue. If you're speaking a new language in real life, once you make those mistakes, whoever you're speaking with can help correct you if they know the answer. If I'm speaking English in real life, and I'm trying to find the word for something, I'm not just gonna get cut off. Whoever I'm talking with can help me find that word. In real life, it's not a realistic formula. Anyways, my big idea is that language learning needs mistakes. You can't learn a language without making mistakes, and you can't expect to not make mistakes while you're learning a language. Anyways, my big idea is that learning languages needs mistakes. You can't learn a language without making mistakes. Not just because it's a difficult thing to do and you're not going to get it right first time, but making mistakes help you learn. Mistakes are a part of the main reason you learn and can remember things in your head, because you remember a mistake you made in the past and then you can fix it in the future. You can recall that memory when you're faced with a similar situation again. So going into learning a language and expecting to not make mistakes, or making an app with only 5 mistakes allowed a day and expecting users to be able to handle that and be able to only make 5 mistakes a day is unrealistic, and it's redundant.